Hey friends, let's talk about dehydrating. I've had a lot of questions about dehydrating the last few weeks, and so I thought I would just address them here. Some foods and things I prefer dehydrated over any other method, while others I don't. So let's go over a few foods that I prefer dehydrated. I prefer my sweet bell peppers dehydrated. Okay, I dehydrate most things of mine till they're crispy. You can hear. Okay, very crispy. That's how I like most of my foods. So sweet bell peppers, definitely my preferred method. Carrots, I do some canned carrots. However, a lot of my carrots I do dehydrated. Again, crispy. Shake it, it's crispy. Okay. This is a blue ball jar, so that's why you see it dark. It is very much orange still, but it's in a blue jar. Celery, my preferred method is dehydration. Dehydrate it till it's crispy. Mushrooms, I do some marinated mushrooms, but my preferred method for mushrooms is dehydration. Again, crispy. Eggplant, now this I dehydrate a ton of, because my husband uses these as chips. He doesn't really eat tortilla chips, not because he doesn't like them, he loves them, but he should stay away from the corn. So eggplant is like, we dehydrate a ton because you go through a lot of chips. And if you're not eating chips, and you want to eat guacamole, and you want to eat salsa and all those things, so eggplant, the only way I preserve it is dehydration. There's some other things, but those are my biggies, all right? So, dehydrated food rehydrates exactly the way you cut it. So think about how you're going to use the product, and that's the way you want to prepare it for dehydration, okay? So, in a lot of my recipes for soups, stews, casseroles, all kinds of things like that, you use, or I do, diced. So most of my peppers I dice. I dice them exactly the way that I want them, as if I were using them fresh, okay? Look right here. See how they're crispy? That's the way I like mine. All right, so I just line my dehydrator tray full. Try to get a thin layer. I just, take a couple handfuls, put it out, flatten it out, put it in. I've got 10 dehydrator trays right here. I just took out the dehydrator. So this is the best thing ever if you're going to be dehydrating. Now my eggplant I slice. You might want to invest in a mandolin. We have a mandolin. Depends on how much I have to go through. If I don't have a ton, I just slice it with a knife, but your mandolin gets it exactly the same thickness, so it's going to dehydrate at exactly the same rate, right? So for all my dicing, I use the Veggie Genius. I don't think they make this exact version anymore. This is a big one. I think it's 6 quarts. The bottom part holds 6 quarts. It has different inserts that you can put in it. This is the 1/4 inch dice. No, I lied. This is the 1/2 inch dice. This is my one I use most often with onions. I forgot to bring out onions. That is my preferred method of preservation with onions, is dehydration. I use this like crazy. So Veggie Genius, in my opinion, if you're going to dehydrate much at all, invest in one. The other thing you want to have is a food saver, okay? Not for this. I don't use this as much as I use the suction attachment for my jars, because once you dehydrate your food, it will then, even in a glass jar, it will get soft over time. Not to the point of molding or anything like that, but it will discolor and it will become soft, okay? Rubbery, leathery, if you will. If you use a food dehydrator, suction attachment, this is going to take all the air out of it, and it's going to keep it nice and crispy for a long time. All right, you could use the food saver bags, but you use these once, you throw them away. it's pretty wasteful in my opinion, so I don't use them very often. I prefer using the jars and then using the suction attachment because I can use this over and over and over again. All right. I'll open this one because I used it last night. You can also, if you don't have a food dehydrator attachment, or I'm sorry, a food saver attachment, jar attachment, you can use O2 oxygen absorbers and go ahead and put your lid on quickly, and that will absorb all the oxygen out of the jar so that, you know, you don't have to worry about anything, okay? So that's another tip. So remember, your food is going to rehydrate exactly the way you cut it. So like on my carrots, I cut them diced, okay? Because most recipes I'm going to use my carrots for is going to be like in soups or that sort of thing, and I want them diced. My celery, I slice it thin, okay? Just like I was going to do. Now, if you do different recipes, you may want to cut yours different. My mushrooms, this in particular is chicken of the woods mushroom, okay? As you can see, you can actually grind it with a food mill because I use this mainly in like gravies or in like ground meat recipes. And so I want it as fine as the ground meat, so you can use a food mill for that and then grind it and then dehydrate it, okay? So if you're into living food, where it means your food is not cooked, you want to always dehydrate everything at 110 degrees or less. 110 degrees or less. Now, I don't always do that because I want it done, and most of these peppers I'm not going to eat raw. I put them in like cream cheese and those kinds of things to make like dips, and they're raw. But I'm going to be cooking this stuff anyway, so there's no need of me putting it at 110 degrees or less for most things because it's going to go in cooked recipes, okay? So, like, for instance, you see, let's take, because I already put some off. This is a dehydrated tray. I just took it out. That's what it looks like. There's space all between the peppers. These peppers were all touching when I put them in the dehydrator, but peppers, in particular sweet peppers, are 93% water. So, you know, they're going to shrivel up. But, so just remember, if you're doing a soup or stew or something like that where there's a lot of liquid involved, you can just throw the dehydrated product right in it. But if you're using it in other recipes, you want to rehydrate individually the item you want. So if I want a cup of celery, then I'm going to take some warm water and just put some dehydrated celery in it and then let it soak, all right? But, you know, my peppers, most of these are going to go in soup, stews, casseroles, that sort of thing. And I can just pop it out and, you know, put it right in the liquid and it'll absorb as it cooks. Carrots take a while to rehydrate. They really do. So if you know you're going to make something tonight, you know, maybe this morning, go ahead and put it, you know, in some liquid and let it sit and rehydrate. Okay. Because it does take a while to rehydrate. It's not like instant. In particular, the mushrooms, like chicken of the woods mushrooms in particular, they take a good long while really to rehydrate. So I think that's pretty much all I had. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments. I'll try to answer them. You know, people constantly ask, how long does it take? What temperature? This is not rocket science. Canning is science. Okay, canning is science. You can't deter from the water activity and the acidity level and all those kinds of things, but dehydrating is not a science, okay? So you can turn that up to 150 if you want. You can turn it down to 110 if you want. It can take 12 hours to dehydrate. The same product at a lower temperature is going to take 24 hours to dehydrate. I never time my dehydration, literally. I check it in the morning. I check it in the evening. that's all I do. It's not complicated at all. While I was on here, I wanted to talk about water glassing eggs. Had a lot of questions about that. Water glassing eggs is the best method, in my opinion, and the only method, in my opinion, to store fresh eggs. Now, you can freeze eggs, you can dehydrate eggs, you can pickle eggs, you can do all kinds of things with eggs. But water glassing is the only way to keep an egg fresh and use it any way you want, okay? Water glassing is simple. There's a couple rules. 1 ounce of hydrated lime per quart of liquid, okay? Now, there's not a quart. This is actually a half a gallon. There's not a half a gallon of liquid in here. So I'm going to mix up a quart of water with 1 ounce of lime in a separate container. I'm going to have this. I'm going to put, part of that liquid in and start filling up the jar with fresh eggs, okay? Put your eggs in. You don't wait until you have a gallon or half a gallon or 5 gallon amount of eggs. You mix up your liquid and lime. 1 ounce of lime, 1 quart of water. You mix that up. You put it in a container and you start adding your fresh eggs. Okay? First rule, 1 ounce of lime, 1 quart of water. Second rule, you cannot wash your eggs. They must be fresh. They must be clean. So whatever eggs I gather today, whatever I don't need, is going to immediately go in a lime water mixture. Okay? So just add them daily as you get them, and just always make sure that the lime water is above the level of the eggs. Now, I've never kept eggs 2 years, but they say that you can keep fresh eggs 2 years in lime water glass like that. Don't know. I don't need to keep eggs 2 years, so that's fine. How much should I preserve? Well, every month how many eggs that your family consumes. Now, chickens, if not giving light and some chickens heat, decrease or stop altogether their egg production in the winter. They don't have enough light hours. It takes so many hours of light for the chicken to lay. So you have maybe 4 months, depending upon where you live, of really slow or almost non-existent egg production. So however many eggs you use per month, you need to save up that many months worth in order to keep your fresh eggs all the way through and never have to buy eggs at the grocery store or from another farmer, okay? So that's my preferred method. I also pickle eggs. Pickle eggs, they're pickled. You eat them just as is. You can make deviled eggs out of them, but you can't scramble them for breakfast, all those kinds of things. Pickled eggs also. There is no USDA recommended recipe for canning pickled eggs. Do people do it? Yes. Do people get salmonella and die? Yes. I don't recommend it. Why would you do it? I'm going to say I pickle eggs. I put them in the refrigerator after I pickle them. I do not can them. I do not process them. Pickled eggs are good for 4 months in your refrigerator. But how much refrigerator space do you have? I don't have enough refrigerator space to keep all this stuff. So this is shelf stable. Put it in a dark place. Okay. Now you can see I use glass. A lot of people don't. You do not have to use glass. You can use a 5-gallon bucket. Many people use a 5-gallon bucket. Because this is glass, I do need to keep it in a dark space so that the light doesn't get to it, preferably. All right. Put your comments, put your questions in the comments, and I will get back with them. I hope this was helpful for you. Oh, let me show before I go. Here's a thing of eggplants I did not seal. They're crispy. I'm going to put the lid on, and this is all you do. Put your food saver on. This attaches. Make sure it's good and attached, and press down on your food saver. It's going to take all the liquid out. If your food dehydrator is actually plugged in. Oh, it is. Mine doesn't go off with this attachment. Some food savers do. I can just hear the difference and I know, pull the top off here, pull the top off here, it's sealed, okay, it's good. The other thing is you don't have to use ball canning jars in your dehydrating because you can use recycled jars. So somebody gave me the spaghetti jar, glass jar, top, and I can use this. Now with this one, this attachment's not gonna work, so I'm gonna use that O2 oxygen absorber, okay? So lots and lots of ways to save your food using a food dehydrator. I have other videos about my food dehydrators and that sort of thing. There's give and takes, you know, some people like, this brand is the best. Well, I have 3 different brands. I've had different brands over the last, you know, I don't know, at least 12 years I know I've been majorly food dehydrating. And I don't have one that I'm like, this is the best. I like this brand because of this. I like this brand because of this. I like this brand because of this. And depending upon what I'm dehydrating is which dehydrator I'm using. All right, have a blessed day.